So, an interesting thing happened to me last night, and I thought I would share it with you. And it starts off a little rough, and then the story gets better, and then we're gonna read an SJW article and talk about it. But listen, so what happened to me last night? I guess maybe a little bit of backstory for context. I have been getting nasty emails pretty much since people really started to know who I was, since I started getting all these followers on Twitter and here after my article went viral. And, obviously I've continued to run my mouth with reckless abandon, and people on the left have been responding to that and send me all sorts of lovely things pretty much every single day. It's super fun. But last night we finally reached a level, it had finally escalated to me receiving my first death threat. Now, I gotta tell you that, receiving a death threat, it was not really an experience that I ever anticipated having in my life. I just never anticipated that I would be someone who would receive such things. And so, I kind of handled it in the way that I handle most things, which is the very first thing I did was talk about it on the internet. Okay, well, that's a lie. That is absolutely a lie. That is not the first thing I did. The very first thing I did was that I went on my website and got the IP address of the moron that sent it to me. The very second thing I did was report it to the cops to make an official report, just so we're all official and clear and they're aware of what's going on. Now, I'm very lucky. I live very close to my police station, and I don't really take this person seriously. I don't think that this person is actually serious, but if they are, my husband and I have something in our home that, would give them a little trouble if they ever tried to show up. Let's just say that. But, it's an interesting experience to receive a death threat. It's not exactly and again, it's weird. It's like having the knowledge that someone out there, especially during a pandemic of all times, someone out there hates you so much that they go out of their way to do that. It's a bizarre kind of head trip. But listen, I'm a big believer of anytime something negative happens in your life, you try to transmute that into something positive. You try to do something good with it. And so when I started talking about it kind of on the internet earlier today, of course, I got this outpouring of support from everyone, a lot of walkaway people, a lot of people that I've met since this all happened. Of course, none of my former friends reached out. Well, that's not true. A couple of people that I knew before the article did reach out to say this is horrible. Of course, most of them didn't, because the left doesn't denounce the BS that comes from their side. It just doesn't happen. But I started thinking about all of the new people that I've met since my article came out. And I wrote about this when I wrote about going to CPAC, but really who these people are and how diverse this group of people is. And we're talking all different types of people. We're talking about conservatives and Republicans and Trump supporters, and those three are not always the same thing, and moderates and walkaways and liberals like me who just feel completely abandoned by the Democratic Party. And it's just, and they come in all sorts of shapes and forms and sizes and colors and all these things. And I started thinking about, wow, this is probably the most diverse community of people that I have ever been a part of, And so I posted this on Twitter. I said, I just realized something today while I was chatting with a new friend. I have made more trans friends since I left the left than I had before. I have made more gay and lesbian friends than I had before. I've made more Black and Latino friends than I had before. If you look at any of the groups that the left insists are marginalized and oppressed, I've made more connections and have had more meaningful conversations with people in them than before. Those conversations are rarely about their immutable characteristics. They are about ideas. The friends I had before, most, not all mostly looked like me and preached all day about how they were allies of the oppressed. They told me I should shut up and listen to those who didn't look like me. They called me a horrible person when I didn't bend the knee and comply. I never thought shutting up was a good way to get to know someone. I always thought it was about conversation. And I literally had to leave the left in order to have those conversations. And that's true. I mean, one of my final straws when all my former friends became pod people it was like person after person after person said to me, Carlin, shut up and listen, shut up. In fact, true story, I was canceled by my friends without even realizing that I was being canceled, because I really wasn't paying attention to cancel culture when this happened. This was a while back. And they basically staged an intervention with me at some point, because apparently I had been using gendered language, because I say things like hey man or dude or any of those things. I had been using gendered language, and my friends literally staged an intervention to try to get me to stop. And there were other grievances that they had too, and I don't really remember what they all were, but they did this over like Facebook Messenger in like this big group chat. And I basically, as soon as they tried to start this intervention, I was like, guys, I'm not doing this over Facebook Messenger. And of course they loved that I used the word guys. Oh god, they love that. But I basically said, I'm not doing this over Facebook Messenger. And they said, well, we don't know any other way to do it. And I was like, you don't know any other way to have a conversation that's not a group of you ganging up on me over something stupid on Facebook Messenger. Like, man. Okay, that's a bit of a tangent. We're gonna come back. But I truly mean this. I truly mean this. This is one of the most shocking things to me about getting to know people on the right, is that it is an extremely diverse group of people. It really is. Now, you can look at pictures that the left tries to do this. They look at the elected representatives in Congress on the Democrats and the Republicans. The Republicans, like, listen, Republicans, just admit it. It's a lot of old white men. It is. That is mostly who is on your side, is your elected representatives are old white men. But that is not the full story. It is absolutely not. I dare you, if you don't believe me, listen, if CPAC actually happens again next year as an event, I dare you to go to CPAC. I dare you, if you have the opportunity to go to a Trump rally, I dare you to go. Because what you're going to see there is an extremely diverse group of people, more diverse than you think it's going to be. I promise you. It was one of the most surprising things to me. And so I started thinking about that, and then I started thinking about, oh my gosh, like just stereotypes that people on the left have of people on the right. And the idea, like, everyone, listen, one of my biggest pet peeves about the left is that, like, the race issue is it's everything to them. It is everything. It's everything. And so I thought what I'd do, and maybe this is for my own sanity to manage, like, I wouldn't say I really have stress over, like, the threat. I really don't. But it is weird. It's put me in a weird mood today. So I thought what I would do is just something a little bit lighter, maybe a little form of mockery, as it were, because when you mock something, you take its power away. And I thought what we could do is maybe just look at, like, this SJW article. Dear fellow white people, here's what to do when you're called a racist, because God knows. When someone said on the comments on my Facebook today, they were like, I bet you've never been called a racist before. I'm like, dude, I've been called a racist, like, literally every single day since my article went viral. Literally every single day. When I was on the left, when I was still in that group, and I questioned it all the time. I was like, I don't think I'm a racist. In fact, I've been raised specifically not, like, it's not that I don't see skin color. I would never say that. I obviously know when I'm looking at someone that they're a different race than me, but does it matter? Is that the sum of who they are? No, of course not. And so, but I always questioned it. I was like, am I really a racist? And I just don't understand that I'm a racist. Like, and I don't anymore. But I thought we could take a look at this fun little SJW article. I'm going to do a little bit of a reaction video, hopefully something a little bit more lighthearted, for as lighthearted as, like, a subject like this can be. But I think, you know, we got to make fun of them. So that's what we're going to do in this video. But before we get into that, we have a couple orders of business. Number one, if you like my content and you like my channel, go ahead, hit subscribe. If you think you're subscribed, just double check it for me, will you? Because I actually saw YouTube last night. I lost a whole bunch of subscribers like that. It happened in like a second. So YouTube did something last night. So just check and make sure that you're still subscribed. If you don't want to be subscribed yet, it's cool, man. We can still be friends. We can still be pals. But there are a couple other ways you can support my channel as well. One of those ways is by going over to drcarlin.com. The link is in the description below. And that's where you can find a place to support my content through making donations either through PayPal or Subscribestar. Now, if you choose a monthly donation through Subscribestar, there are all sorts of different levels starting from $5 all the way up to 100. You can pick any sort of level. People are at all levels, but one of the things that happens if you donate at any level on Subscribestar is that you get a shout out in one of my videos. And today I have not one, not two, but 3 new shout outs to give. So first shout out I want to give is to G. G, you know who you are because, you know, he messaged me saying he didn't want me to use his real name. I totally respect that, man. I'm not trying to out anyone here, but G, thank you for joining. Byung, thank you for joining. He joined at a very high level, so he gets extra thank yous. And Heidi, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate the support, guys. I promise I'm going to try to do right by you and do the very best I can. So thank you. Let's get into the article. Dear fellow white people, here's what to do when you're called a racist. Now, just so you guys know, oh my god, look at that image. Oh my god. I haven't actually read this yet. I thought we'd discover this together like a little bit of a game. Trump supporters, and this is from, by the way, this is a little bit old. This is from August 2019. So this is back when, like, they were still focused on fake problems rather than the pandemic problem that we're all focused on now. So SJWs had a little bit more play back then. But let's see what they have to say. Trump supporters say they're tired of being called racist. Yo, I was tired of being called a racist even before I became someone that was going to vote for Donald Trump in November. And in fact, it was the fact that I got called a racist so much, Rebecca, the author of the article, it was the fact that I get called racist over and over again that drove me into the loving, open arms of Trump. Oh my god, I can't even believe okay, guys, it's Friday. It's Friday. I've had a bit of a day. This is already going downhill real fast, isn't it? At a recent rally in Cincinnati, The Atlantic reported white attendees defended themselves against the charge by citing the evidence. They had donated money to help black foster children. They deeply loved their black and mixed race grandchildren. I mean, that's kind of BS though, because I'm telling you, man, like, that Trump rally was not all white. I went to a Trump rally in New Hampshire. New Hampshire is like the whitest state. And maybe there are a couple, like, Maine's probably whiter than New Hampshire, but, like, you know, New Hampshire is like definitely in like the top 10 of like white states, right? And there was a lot of diversity at the Trump rally, so I don't think that is the only way. That she probably had a conversation with like one couple and took their quote out of context. Come on. Shortly after rejecting the racist label, however, these same rallygoers made racist remarks to the journalists who interviewed them. Regarding Rep. Ilhan Omar, who came to the United States as a Somali refugee, one woman offered, "I don't want her stinking Muslim crap in my country." You know, I'm not going to defend that quote. I'm just not. I don't think there's any purpose in saying that. And honestly, like, I think if you dug past that, you're going to see that it's not necessarily about race or it's about the practices of the belief system that the right questions. That's what I've come to understand it. But I guess I'm more of the mind that I'm very much like a live and let live person. I think that you can believe whatever you want to believe as long as you're not hurting anyone, because I want to be able to believe what I believe, and some of my beliefs are crazy. So I don't like that so much. I'm not going to defend that. Listen, man, people say things on the right that I don't like all the time. I wish they would stop. But it really doesn't happen, or at least it hasn't happened as much to me as you would think based on reading things like this in the Washington Post. Making racist remarks while claiming not to be racist seems paradoxical. President Trump himself is a case in point. "I am the least racist person anywhere in the world," he told reporters last month, as he often name-checks black celebrity friends to support his contention. At the same time, he continues to take racist jabs at individuals and groups. Now, you notice that she has not actually given any examples in this about racist things that he's said. She hasn't given examples. She just made a blanket statement as though it is absolute fact. I mean, listen, folks, if you really think listen, Trump is of a certain time, and I do believe that many people of that time do hold subconscious biases. I do, man, I do. And that's not to say, when I say subconscious, it's not conscious, it's beneath the surface, simply based on where you were born. But I also think that Trump has done a lot for the black community. He's done a lot that he didn't necessarily need to do. One of the things that I always liked that he did was prison reform. I thought that was fantastic. I liked how, did you see the last State of the Union? It was fantastic. Record low black unemployment rate before all this COVID-19 stuff happened. And I think, even that state rep out of Georgia, he's a Democratic state representative out of Georgia, just came out and he's black. He said, I'm voting for Trump. Trump is the one supporting my community. Listen, if you don't believe that Trump has been, that there are black people that are supporting Donald Trump, go watch some of the walkaway town halls, because they're one of the things that opened my eyes. I was like, no, they're really not being racist. They're actually doing things that these communities appreciate. So she's writing this, but obviously hasn't. You know what's going on here? She hasn't done any research to challenge her own confirmation bias. That's exactly what it is. She has not done research to challenge her own confirmation bias. Instead, what this person is doing, and she's probably a student, let me see. Rebecca Haynes is a professor of media and communication at Salem State University. I know where that is. Her publications include, so she's a professor. She knows better. One of the things you do when you're doing academic research is you have to proactively challenge your own confirmation bias by seeking out information that contradicts what your conclusion is, to make sure that you are not just looking at information that supports the conclusion that you want to make. That's what you have to do. That's an ethical obligation when you're an academic doing research that Rebecca here has obviously not done. Even white people who consider themselves, what's even funnier is she's reporting secondary stuff that another person witnessed. Rebecca, why didn't you just go to a Trump rally yourself and see what's what? Why are you trusting reporting of someone else? It's basically like a secondhand account. Makes no sense. Even white people who consider themselves good allies of people of color can be unaware of their racial biases. From public figures to pundits to public intellectuals to politicians, it's a perverse, bipartisan international problem. I know you guys don't like it if I do dramatic voice for too long, so I'm gonna rein it in, but I can't help it sometimes. Okay. The white Democratic governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam, for example, distanced himself from a photo of a person in blackface in his 1984 medical yearbook by talking about how he practiced medicine. Well, listen, man, wearing blackface is just stupid. Why? Except if, you know what I do respect, though? I saw an interview with Adam Carolla talking about how he dressed up as Mr. T for Halloween one year, and he did do blackface because he was like, I'm Mr. T. It's an homage. He's trying to pay tribute to someone. And I kind of respect it. I was like, okay, Adam Carolla, you're not backing down. And people tried to get him to admit he was wrong for doing blackface. He was like, it's an homage to Mr. T. It's because I like Mr. T. I'm dressing up as Mr. T. Listen, I'm not going to do it myself, ever, but I can kind of get that, and I respect him standing his ground. No one has ever thought or accused me of being racist, and if and when I practice again, I will continue that same direction. White actor Liam Neeson, as though we don't know who Liam Neeson is, come on, confessed that decades ago, after a friend reported that she had been raped by a black man, he felt a primal urge to retaliate by harming black men in general. Responding to the backlash, he said, I'm not racist. If she had said an Irish or a Scot or a Brit or a Lithuanian, I know I would have had the same effect. I actually agree with that. And the reason I agree with that is when I've talked about what's happened to me in the past, it was not a black man. It was, I'm not going to give any there were very identifiable characteristics. I'm not going to give anything away. I don't want to dredge that all up, but when male friends, especially when male friends in my life found out what happened to me and they found out the circumstances behind it, they wanted to go run out and kill people that looked like the person that did it to me too. Absolutely. And so I completely understand that. I don't think that's a racist thing. I think that that's just a natural, like a protector instinct. And I think that that's actually, you don't want them acting on it. I'm not going to condone violence against anyone, but I think it also kind of makes sense that if you care about someone and you find out something horrible has happened, you want the person who perpetrated it to be punished. And I think it's a natural instinct to, if you don't have that person available to be punished, to take someone that looks like them or remind you of them as someone who you can insert in your head as someone who deserves to be punished, right? I get it. So if you are a white person and someone calls you racist and the charge perplexes you, what should you do? As a white college professor who teaches courses on media and race at a diverse public university, here's Salem State University is not a diverse university. Come on, man. I know. That's just, no. Salem State is not a diverse university. All right, that point aside, here's your advice. Number 1, recognize that what matters most is what happened just now. You can be called out for racist remarks, even if you have black friends and relatives you cherish donated to an anti-racist cause and march for civil rights. People have a tendency to respond to an accusation of racism by sharing this kind of personal history. I never responded to accusations of being racist by sharing my personal history. I responded to accusations of being racist by rolling my eyes and saying, I don't think that that's true. But that's just that. But I can understand why people would respond with a story to say, no, I'm not racist. Here's proof. Listen, here's the thing. Like, bottom line, people who are actually racist don't think there's anything wrong with being racist. They don't think there's anything wrong with being racist. Why would someone deny, if someone is an actual legitimate racist, they're not going to instantly want to deny and instantly want to prove you wrong. That is just, it just makes no sense. It's such a widespread phenomenon that the New Republic once looked into the history of the token minority best friend defense. You know what's funny? Is when I first started getting wrapped up in all of this SJW nonsense, I had this one friend, and this dude, I loved this dude so much before he became a pod person. He was a cool dude. We had really interesting conversations. We had interesting discussions, interesting debates. Over the course of years and years and years, I knew this dude. And then he started dating an SJW that happened to be black. And it was all downhill from there, and he went crazy, and he lost his mind, and he was always accusing me of being racist, even if I hadn't said anything about race. And then, and I didn't even know how to talk to him because I didn't realize what was happening. And then one day, I kind of started looking into, like, the anti-racist stuff, and I started listening as he told me to do. I was like, I don't really want to do this. I think that people should have conversations. I don't think it should just be white people shut up and listen to everyone else. I think it should be a conversation and a dialogue. But I did what he wanted me to do because I cared about this person, and it had not crossed my mind yet that he had lost his marbles, and so I was trying to please him. And so I listened to, like, some anti-racist person, and I said, okay. And I actually, like, the person I was listening to, she actually basically said what I said, which was stop telling people to shut up, start, like they should have conversations. And I was so happy to hear that. I was like, oh my God, thank you. I have this black anti-racist teacher who I am listening to. I'm doing what I should be doing. And they're telling me what I was saying, which is we have to have conversations with people. So I went back to my friend. I said, listen, I've been listening to this teacher, and they said, not me, them, they said that we should be having conversations and not telling people to shut up. And he came back right at me, and he was like, well, you are just tokenizing this person. That was the instant reaction. And at that point, and he's like, and you wouldn't have even told me this if the person you were hearing it from was white. And I said to him, I was like, you know what? You are exactly right. I would not have said that to you if the person I was hearing it from was white, because that would have been the instant reaction. And I unfriended him, and I blocked him, and I have not spoken to him since. So I was just like, I can't do it anymore. He broke me. He did. All right. The Colbert Report satirized it time and again. I need a new black friend, Stephen Colbert character said as an extended rift. As Psychology Today reported on a study of this phenomenon, the threat of appearing racist leads people to overestimate how much of their past non-racist actions, like making friends with someone of another race, are indicative of their non-racist attitude. You know what's funny is, like, people who subscribe to this on the left, They cannot understand why they don't have more black friends. I was surrounded by these white allies when in my friends group that like could not understand why they didn't have more black friends. Well, guess what? The reason you don't have more black friends is because you only want to be their friend because they're black and you don't want to get to know them as human beings. It's that simple. So stay in the moment. What matters is what you said, apparently even if you don't say anything, how it was received by those around you as reflecting a racist bias, and how you respond to those who identified your racism in your words and actions. Because apparently the only way that a white person is not racist in the eyes of these people is if they bend the knee. Actually, no, wait, no, stop. Rewind. There is no way for a white person not to be racist in this paradigm. It's crazy. Remember the broader context. Even if you know in your heart that you are not racist, remember, it is it is possible to have implicit or unconscious racial bias. Okay, true story. So they sometimes these people, they like to point out implicit bias, and I've actually taken the Harvard implicit bias test, which is completely flawed in so many ways. It's completely flawed, but that keeps being pointed out to people as an instance of like proving you have inherent bias, is you can go take this test and it'll show you your inherent bias. So I took this test, and the results I got literally were saying you have no inherent bias. And the minute I started saying, well, the Harvard racist like inherent bias test that you all told me to take, it says I don't have inherent bias, they're like, oh, that test isn't accurate anyway. So it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't with these implicit bias things. And listen, just because I said earlier, I think Trump does have unconscious bias. I do. I think everyone has unconscious bias to greater or lesser degrees, whether that unconscious bias has to do with race or something else. I mean, we all have it. Literally, it is impossible. It is impossible not to have unconscious bias. It is just the way it is, folks. You are never going to rid yourself of it entirely. Well, studies show that we are aware of our explicit declaratory biases. Some prejudices arrive without thought, in snap judgment, making them harder for us to detect. That is why our implicit biases don't necessarily align with our declared beliefs or even reflect stances we explicitly endorse, as Ohio State's Kirwan Institute for Race and Ethnicity puts it. Yeah, okay. The United States was built on the enslavement of black people. No, I disagree. And again, they're making these statements as though there is no way to disagree with them. No, the United States was not built on the enslavement of black people. It was not. And some forms of structural racism persist in our laws and culture. I do actually, okay, I'm about to get myself into trouble. I do actually just slightly agree with that. Listen, like, these things start off, there are kernels of truth in this. I do believe that we can do more to make sure that people of all different backgrounds, all races, all ethnicities, all genders, all orientations, all everything, I do believe that we as a society can do more to make sure that every single person has equal access to opportunity. There is a kernel of truth in there. However, what these people do is they take that kernel of truth and they blow it up and they keep pushing it and making it bigger and making it bigger and making it bigger until it reaches a level of absurdity, an absurdly large problem that you are just never going to fix. And of course, that is part of the point, isn't it? That is part of the point, that you are never going to fix this problem. That is part of what drives them. They don't want to fix the problem. They want to make the problem bigger. That's all they want. If you grew up in the United States, you were socialized within this system. One recent study even found higher levels of implicit bias among people in states and countries that had more slaves in 1860, suggesting the lingering inequities in society can transmit historical forms of oppression like slavery into contemporary. But what is this person's degree in? Hang on. A professor of media and communication. Why in the ever-loving hell is this person writing about this? This person does not have a background in this. This person has probably has a degree in TV or something. This is not, this is another reason why I hate these people. I don't hate anyone. I don't. but they drive me crazy. They drive me absolutely insane. As a result, we have all developed biases that feel natural and normal, but are grounded in racism. You know what this is? This is like she's writing like an undergraduate paper or something, or for her thesis, and this is why this reads like this. Recognizing this pattern can help make sense of being racist when you feel certain that you are a good person. So really, she's trying to get you to convince yourself that no matter what you say, and no matter what you do, and no matter how you treat people, you are a racist. That's what it is. It's like, you're a racist, don't deny it, because no defense will ever be good enough. You are a racist, just accept your racism and sit in your discomfort with that racism. Unfortunately, data shows that people can overcome their socialization and reduce their implicit bias through various means. For example, MTV's Look Different campaign, with input from the Kirwan Institute, has created an online bias cleanse program. I'm sorry, what? In response to the question, what can I do about bias? It offers daily tasks for a week. But overcoming bias... But overcoming bias is a longer-term process that requires sustained work. If you've just been called a racist, what should you do in the moment? Stay calm and ask for clarification. Take a deep breath and pause after being called racist. You will probably feel attacked and defensive. Check those emotions and avoid argument. So again, don't fight back, don't deny it, just sit in your discomfort. Instead, and apologize. Okay, so that's actually step one, is like, accept it. Accept your racism and apologize immediately for your racism. And consider asking someone, either the person who called you a racist or a trusted friend who understands racism and can chat with you about the situation, for helping understand what went wrong. You know who I can't think of, I'm just thinking about this now on the fly. I'm sorry, I know this is going a little bit long and rambling, because like I said, I hadn't actually read this article before. I'm having a moment here, guys. This is bringing up all sorts of underlying issues. I can't actually remember a time when I was called racist by anyone that wasn't a white person. I mean, listen, a lot of times I'm called racist, I get these emails. I don't know what the race of the people are, but anytime I've been called racist and I knew who the person was, always a white person, always, 100% of the time. So why am I asking white people for tips and tricks on, like, understanding why I'm racist? When in these people's definitions, I don't think white people can be a target of racism. So how would they know if I'm being racist? So many questions. You can use language like this. I didn't realize that remark was racist. I'm so sorry. Because of course you have to accept the premise. All of this is grounded on the fact that you have to accept the initial premise. Would you be willing to help me understand where I went wrong? I really want to learn and would be so grateful. Oh my God, asking to be educated. Oh, this is a trick, man. This is such a trick. Okay, so here's what I know about getting feedback in an organizational context. So when you set aside this crazy article for a moment, like say you're at work and your boss comes up to you and says, "Can I give you some feedback?" When that happens, your whole sympathetic nervous system instantly goes on high alert. It lights up like a Christmas tree. You go into fight or flight, and you get yourself so worked up because you're afraid of getting the feedback. You think it's going to be negative. You think it's going to be wrong. That you actually go into fight or flight. You go into survival mode in your body, and your brain is instantly not receptive to getting the feedback. The trick around that a lot of organizations have figured out, and this is actually based on the research of a guy named David Rock, brilliant dude, is that if you can get someone to ask for feedback, to ask for it, then the brain opens up, your survival instinct doesn't kick in because they have asked for it. And it really could be as simple as like a boss going up to someone and saying, "Hey, can you ask me for some feedback?" and the person says, will you give me some feedback? And the boss says, sure, I'll give you some feedback. Here it is. That literally could be as simple as that. The brain just responds differently to that the minute you ask for it. So this is a dirty trick right here. This is an absolute trick to get you to, without even realizing it, accepting that you did something wrong. It is a dirty psychological trick. Important note. What? This article just keeps getting better and better. Important note. If possible, ask a white person to explain this to you, because really, white people, white allies are the people. Wait. Don't tell me. I haven't read this article. She's going to say something to the effect of, like, you don't want to ask a person of color to go through the emotional labor of explaining to you why you're racist. That's my guess. Let's read. It's not. I swear I didn't read this next. It's not the job of people of color to educate white people, and you are not owed a direct explanation as much as you might like one. All right, so you're supposed to accept your racism, ask what you did wrong, but you're not supposed to ask a person of color who you were supposedly being racist to what you did wrong, because it's not their job to explain it to you. It is only the job of white allies to explain it to you. I'm so glad I did this. This is like making my whole day better. Don't be entitled. Respect those boundaries. They're healthy. Okay, I'm going to establish some boundaries, media professor from not diverse Salem State University, that you're not allowed to tell me I'm racist. Respect my boundaries. Instead, explain what happened. Explain what happened to a third party, one you trust, will be insightful and honest, taking ownership of the problem. Ask for that person's help in identifying and unpacking what you did wrong. Step 4, really listen to the answers you receive. Swallow your pride. It's hard. Don't interrupt or justify yourself. You're not on trial. Your goal in this is to listen and learn. So this is basically, remember how I told you that I was getting told shut up all the time? Shut up and listen. We have reached the shut up and listen stage of all of this. Being an open-minded, active listener. This person is a communications professor. Active listening requires asking questions. Active listener is a useful interpersonal communication skill in many situations, but it often doesn't come to us naturally. We can cultivate it. In Inc. magazine, Kathy Sillett put it this way: do you have a friend or colleague you disagree with about something? Have a conversation in which, for once, you don't try to convince them that they're wrong. Instead, find out everything you can about how they see the issue or topic. Listen, like, for the left, there is literally no way to have a conversation about a topic that you disagree with if you're not trying to convince the other person that they're wrong. This happens, like, on the right, people have dialogues, they have discussions, and they're very comfortable with leaving the conversation, agreeing to disagree. On the left, that literally does not happen. What they're saying is you cannot have a conversation with someone with whom you disagree without it being a fight or a battle and trying to convince them that you're right. They're basically saying that's impossible. It's not impossible, but they treat it like it's impossible. In their world, in the land of the left, that is impossible, which is why they're saying, shut up and listen. I just figured that out. Holy crap. Also, don't feel as though you have to instantly agree with the explanation you're offered. For example, it may include a reference to white privilege, but you may not feel privileged because of various struggles you have faced in your life. This is a common area of misunderstanding and conflict. I'm not even going to go into the white privilege thing. That's like a whole other piece of insanity. Step 5, express gratitude. Then get back to work. Be sure to thank the person who offers you an explanation. The fact that you were, 1, called out, and 2, offered an explanation may feel uncomfortable, but it is a valuable gift, and your discomfort is productive. Consider it as motivation. So usually I don't do squeaky dramatic voice. It just came out with, like, the Nancy Pelosi video. This is usually what dramatic voice sounds like. I don't know why it manifested as squeaky and crazy with the Nancy Pelosi video. Consider it as motivation. a growing pain that can spur you to think deeply about this new information, work to identify and overcome your harmful implicit bias, and help to raise your fellow white people's consciousness. Tom, an author and teacher, faced his own accusation this way. He explained that backlash from a community of black women on Twitter helped him realize that an imagined graduation speech he had published, in which he playfully taunted marginalized communities by saying that white people had mistreated them to toughen. Tom's kind of a bastard, isn't he? Who would do that? It was tough to read all of it, but in the pit of my stomach, wasn't that there because anyone involved, most especially the women listed above, were being mean, he wrote. They're entirely right. Nah, Tom, you're just a dick, man. Like, don't do that. What are you talking about? Maybe Tom actually really did deserve it. Being a white anti-racist ally is not easy, but it's important. Anyone can rise to the challenge and pay it forward. Why are people publishing this woman? Oh my god. Her books include The Princess Problem, Guiding Our Girls Through a Princess-Obsessed Year. This person should not be in any position to educate anyone. You should not, don't take a word this article says seriously. Oh my god. Okay. So, whatever. It's Friday evening. I'm gonna go, I think I'm gonna go crack a bottle of champagne, go relax, go watch a movie. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a little bit long, but it was just meant for fun. If you made it this far, thank you. And I'll be back at you tomorrow with something maybe a little bit more serious. We'll see how it goes.